Okay, so Pop Culture Universe is another ABC Clio database. So if you've already viewed the American History tutorial, the ABC Clio American History tutorial, you really don't need to watch this because they function similarly. But if you haven't seen that one, here we go. First of all, I want to point out that ABC Clio includes these amazing research tips. There are research tutors, which are video tutorials on how to complete research. So if you need some assistance in how to interpret primary sources, for example, ABC Clio has provided you with a short 4-minute instructional video helping you do that,
Establishing
which
perspective
is awesome.
is important for deciding.
They've also created these things called wizards that are really step-by-step tutorials to help take you through an entire process. And so if you are going to do a speech and need some tips,
In this wizard, we'll show
they're
you
going to
how to
help
prepare,
you
deliver.
go through that entire
Next,
process.
let's deepen your sense of this subject.
So that's pretty cool. But if we go back to the main function of this is to study pop culture, you'll notice that the documentation here begins in the 1900s. So you can just browse by time period, right? This way, or you can see all the decades. And then you can see well, actually, that just takes you to the 1920s. So the ABC Clio database will give you kind of a historical overview of the 20s and what some of the major points of popular culture were, right? Women's suffrage, prohibition, the dawn of credit culture, the stock market crash, etc. That's going to kind of give you really the most basic overview. But again, there are some features here that are really special. You can look at some specifics about the arts, sports, everyday life, clothing, fashion, food and drink, and they will go into that sort of detail-oriented explanation of what that decade was really like. So this is an excellent, excellent, excellent JRP resource. There are also some analysis essays about some of the consequences of choices that were made during this time period. And of course here, the reference articles that will help you understand, for example, film, the gold rush, the Great Gatsby, the Great Migration, right? All of the really specific details of events and moments and people who are important to that time period. There are media and primary source documents available to you as well. Political cartoons, posters, and images might be useful if you're creating a multimedia project, but also just to study as visual texts. You can conduct an advanced search, which is kind of cool. You can limit your results to certain things. So if you only want to look at political cartoons, but you want to examine them over a few decades, you can do that. And you can even specify political cartoons that have to do with certain aspects of pop culture. Though I'm not going to do that now, I'm just going to look at it by time period. So now I have 69 political cartoons or posters or document images, so maybe advertisements from those time periods. So this is a really cool way to find resources, particularly for the JRP, but for lots of different projects. So there you go.